welcome to another edition of A Dose of Positive. In today's short and sweet segment, I'm going to dive into a very personal topic, specifically self-worth. Now, in this past week, I've made a huge self-discovery, and this video, just want to forewarn you, is going to be a little bit heavy, is the best way to describe it. I wanted to be open and honest with you guys about this discovery that I've made and what led up to it. I don't have a lot of tips and tricks to give you on the power of self-worth and how to feel worthy, because that's something that I just recently realized I need to learn how to do. So I'm going to kind of detail in this video some of the things that I have learned in this past week, and my real goal in sharing all this very intimate information with you is, once again, to enable you to get to know me on a very personal level. And I'm hoping that there's someone out there who can relate to this story and to this message, and ultimately what I want to tell you is that you are worthy. And continue to watch if you are interested in learning more. So basically, there's been a couple of things that have happened in the past week to 2 weeks that have led me to a self-discovery that I lack self-worth. First was at the office, at my job. Now, at the beginning of this year, I set some goals for myself, and 3 of them were to attend 3 annual conferences this year in the event planning and hospitality space, which is my biggest passion. I've never had the financial means to be able to do this in the past, and even more so now than ever, I feel an emphasis for continued education, for personal and professional development, and I've made that investment in myself to go to some of these conferences. So I've paid for my airfare, my hotel, the conference ticket. I'm going to be paying for my food and all this. And I sent an email to my boss at the start of the year to say, hey, FYI, I have these 3 calendars on the agenda. I'm not asking for any help from, the company. I just wanted to ask, that you approve my request for time off when the time comes. So one of the conferences is fast approaching, and I had sent a reminder email to my boss just saying, hey, FYI, this is coming up. Just want to make sure it's okay that I request this time off. And again, I'm not asking for anything. And he hit me back with a message of like, we'd like to support you in that, so it's related to your job, and, give me a little bit more details about it. And several different emails back and forth later, I basically realized, and I think that's another power of, writing things, because you have to think about your responses, and you have to think about why you think a certain way. And there were so many email exchanges back and forth, and I finally just kind of realized, I sent him a final email and I said, look, I'm sorry if I'm acting really weird, but I don't even like it when guys pay for my food, which is really true. Like when I go out on a date, I often pay because I just feel so uncomfortable with people paying for me. And I remember I've had friends, scold me for this and just be like, Aubrey, just let him pay, and I have trouble with it, and now I know why. But long story short, in that same email, what I mentioned to my boss is that, my previous boss, not at my current company, but at a previous company, never made me feel worthy of the investment. She would question a $1 water bottle on my P-card statement, and only let me go to free events. And I just never felt, like I deserved, to be invested in, if that makes sense. And coming to Key in a completely different environment, having a manager who does want to support me is a complete game changer. And it's just a shift in my mindset of being worthy of that investment, and it was so uncomfortable for me. Then the next thing that happened this past weekend, I was hanging out with some friends, and I'm very self-aware. I'm aware of the words that come out of my mouth, because there's a lot of power in words. And I was talking to them about the fact that, when it comes to business and my career, I'm on point. I'm super confident. I run it. I own it. But when it comes to relationships, quote unquote, I suck. And, when I went home that evening and I thought about what I said, I said, that's an issue, Aubrey, for you to be talking negatively about yourself in any area or aspect of your life. That basically is a red flag, that's something that you need to work on. And the fact that I have had that mentality that I suck at this for quite a while now, makes it even more of an emphasis that I really need to focus on, why do I feel that I suck at relationships? The next thing was a couple of days later, actually, I think it was that day, someone had posted on Facebook a video by Tony Gaskins. Now, Tony is a relationship and life coach. I never ever seen him, heard of him ever before, and I watched this one video and it just intrigued me so much that I went and watched like all of his videos, and I became a groupie overnight. And his videos were so enlightening, unconventional, but very enlightening to me, and I'm going to share a couple of the points that ultimately were the catalyst for me to make a very, very important and valuable life decision as it related to my current relationship at that time. Now, this was literally just last Sunday, and there was a certain activity that I had been putting off for a long time, and that was to sit down and put together a pros and cons list for the relationship that I was in. And as I did that exercise, it was very challenging to find pros to put down, and it was about 2/3 the way down on the page, very spaced out, while the con side was running off the page, up the side, no spaces, on top of each other, and I still had other things to add to that list. And it just became so apparent to me that this relationship was no longer adding value to me, and it was something that I needed to get out of. Beyond that, the other thing that it really displayed to me is that the only reason that I would put up with so many of those cons over the past year and a half plus that I've been with this person, and it's been a hokey pokey game the entire time of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and I've never been indecisive in my entire life. Basically, it illustrated that I lacked, seriously, self-worth, and ultimately by allowing this person to treat me the way that they did and continue to be with them or continue to take them back, I was essentially condoning the treatment that I was receiving, and that's horrible. Beyond that, there was a seed that my father had planted in my head months and months prior, and he very eloquently put, Aubrey, you wouldn't put up with this shit from anybody, so why are you putting it up from him? Why are you letting him do this? And he had a point, and I didn't have an answer then, and now I do. Because I basically realized that I have no control over his actions or his behavior, but I do have control over mine. And ultimately, because my lack of self-worth, I didn't make the right decisions. I didn't end that relationship when I should have, and I put up with that because I felt like that's what I deserved, or that I didn't deserve more than that, which is sad, okay? The kind of build up to that, and the reason that I feel that I suck in relationships is because I didn't have a good start. Now I'm going to kind of lay out all my business, but again, I want people to relate to me on a personal level and understand that some of the things that you've been through, I've been through them too. And you probably don't think about it or would ever imagine that I have, because I don't carry that, in my public life. I don't, until now, share it with people, but in relationships, I've been through physical abuse, verbal abuse. I have been cheated on multiple times. I've been lied to and manipulated. I've been stolen from. I had a boyfriend who received a call from an old fling and found out that he had a son. I've been told by a past boyfriend that as the boyfriend, that he should be able to do whatever he wanted to me, sexually or otherwise. I've been through everything. And the saddest part about all of that is that every single one of those people I have taken back or have come running back at some point in time, and so I lacked self-worth as a result of a lot of those things that happened to me in relationships. Now, this is nothing to do with like my friends or my family. This is strictly like romantic relationships. But basically, it all boils down to the fact that I feel unworthy. And so in this next year, one of my biggest goals that I never even knew was a goal for this year has now moved to the top of the list, and this is to learn to love myself, to learn to appreciate myself, to learn to be happy with myself. And that was something that I learned from Tony Gaskins. He mentioned, when are you ready to get invested in a relationship? And he said, it's when you don't want one. When you're happy just being yourself, that's when you're whole. And if you go and look for a relationship when you are not whole, you're gonna have two people who are not complete, trying to complete each other, but really you're only going to subtract from each other, because you're going to be drawing from each other, and neither of you complete to begin with. So I definitely don't want to go into a relationship where I myself don't feel complete, happy, and whole with myself. So that's the first thing. Another lesson that I learned from him was the difference between love and being in love. And so basically he has a bunch of different clients, primarily female, who have been through similar things where they've been physically abused or they've been cheated on. And he asked them point blank, you know, do you love him? And they said, yeah, of course I do. Are you in love with him? You know, yes, I'm definitely in love with him. You know, and he said, would you ever hit him? No, I'd never do that. You know, would you ever cheat on him? Not at all, you know? And basically he said, well, there's your answer. You know, these boys, for lack of a better word, and I'm not saying all men are like this, so don't be hating. But these guys love you, but they're not in love with you, because if they were in love with you, then they would never treat you that way. They couldn't even fathom treating you that way. So that's the first thing. The second is he gave the example of the human teddy bear. I have definitely been the human teddy bear, and I can relate to this, but he basically mentioned, you know, sometimes in relationships, you know, that person, your partner, clings to you and you feel loved just like a teddy bear. You're cuddled up, you know, you're having a great time, and there's other times that you get thrown on the floor, in the shelf, you know, on a shelf in the corner, whatever, until they feel that they need you again, you know. And so you just get tossed around, you know. And I think for me, definitely, I make a lot of excuses, or have in the past, for people that I've been in relationships with, you know, because I clung to the happy times. You know, I was like, I know that this is great, I know that this can be good because I've felt it, you know. And that's when that teddy bear is being cuddled and loved upon, you know. And other times I was in the closet and shoved into the corner, and yeah, I've definitely been there and never want to be there again. And I suggest that others don't allow, myself included, people to treat them that way. Another thing that I learned from him was to not give a boyfriend the benefits of a husband, you know. And I was like, mind blown, because I'm a person who loves to give so much of myself, and especially people that I care about. I give so freely, and I get burned a lot of times because I do give of myself so much. And essentially what he was saying is that, you know, if you give yourself away to a person, you know, whether it's sexually or even just an acts of service of cleaning their clothes, or, you know, washing the dishes, or, you know, going out and doing errands for that person or whatever, he's like, you are giving a boyfriend the benefits of a husband, and you essentially are giving him nothing to work towards or nothing to work for, you know. So essentially he's going to milk that for as long as he can, and then go on to find somebody where he actually does have to work for their affection, because we all know that we value things a lot more when we had to work for them, right? Versus things that came easily to us. So I don't know exactly how to implement that in relationships, or how I will implement that moving forward, because it will be, you know, kind of a battle within myself, because I would want to give so much to that person, whether he was my boyfriend or he was my husband. But that's something, you know, to think about and to work on. The other was a video called Keep Your Clothes On. Again, not completely conventional. I'll include all of the links to these videos below. But very, very true statement. He was talking about how he was hanging out with his wife, and his wife was showing him some Instagram photos of some females, because they're, you know, close like that. And he said it was sad, you know, and I agree with him that in this day and age, with the media and the different pop star icons that we idolize, girls now have almost developed a mindset that we have to flaunt our assets to anyone and everyone to get into a relationship, to feel loved or valued or appreciated by those likes and those comments and those thumbs up. And essentially what he was saying is that kind of behavior of, you know, putting all of your assets out there do not attract men, they attract grown boys. And these grown boys, because that's all that they see in you, you've essentially marketed yourself as a piece of meat, you know, for lack of a better word, as that's how they're going to treat you, you know. And so it was just really telling on that. And then the other thing that he mentioned, again, a little unorthodox, but he said, you know, close your legs and open your mind. You know, at the end of the day, all your looks are going to fade at some point, you know. And if someone, you know, is in love with you because of your body, because of your physical features, that one day will fade, and not because of who you truly are and what's in here, your biggest asset, then you're going to be left on the curb, you know? So make sure that you're developing yourself and your own self-worth, because someone who loved themselves and felt that they were worthy wouldn't be projecting those images out into the universe. You know, they'd be saving that for someone special. And that's essentially what men are looking for versus young or grown boys, rather. So, all in all, I don't really know necessarily where to conclude with this video, because it was really just an outpouring of my heart. I know that I went way over time, but I'm hoping that you guys watch this video and it opens up your own eyes, you know, especially if you struggle in any of the areas that I mentioned today, or even just in finding that there is a great, you know, relationship and life coach that you can now watch and follow for relationship advice. I know that I will be doing that, and I just want to support all of you who are out there who may be going through similar struggles to also learn to love yourself, which is basically going to be my mission for this year. I'm going to take a break and just focus on myself, and I'm looking forward to that. So I wish you all a perfect week. I give you all my love and my hugs, and if you like this video, please like, comment. I would love to see your comments, and subscribe, and I will see you next week.